And now, the next animals I'm going to show you are the largest of the dolphin family. They are the Orca of Patagonia. Now, Orca, also known as killer whales, are the largest members of the dolphin family. And when I say the largest, I mean a fully grown male can be about 8 meters long, weigh more than 6 tons, has teeth probably as big as my hand, and a dorsal fin which can be as long as I am tall. You find orca all over the world, but these orca have their very own what's called killer whale culture, and it's probably the most famous of all, because in Patagonia, on the southern tip of South America, killer whales here actually hunt sea lions by nearly stranding themselves on the sea, on the sand, to grab them in the surf zone on the edge of the waves. How the orca do this is they wait till high tide, when the tide is high enough, and then if there are sea lions, like youngsters or adolescents, or even fully grown ones, just hanging around on the surf zone on the edge of the waves, the orca will wait for the precise moment to then charge in and grab the sea lion and then shift back into the open sea by using their bulk and their tail to just heave themselves back into the sea, and then they will drag their prey back out to sea, and then but, I mean, while it may seem very cruel to humans, what we've got to understand is that the orca have got their own young to feed, like they've got to feed their calves, but also teach them like this technique so they can grow up to become the ocean's top predators. There's actually one particular stretch of coastline in Patagonia called the Peninsula Valdez, where tourists and filmmakers come to see the killer whales hunting sea lions. I mean, some people can be there for weeks and not see anything, but of course it is great for the tourism of that part of the world. The orcas there are very heavily protected, and they are monitored. And here is their range. They are very intelligent animals, and they can cover hundreds of miles in a day, but this is where they are located. As you can see, the Peninsula Valdez. And the next animal I'm going to show you is is a member of the Weasel family, and probably also the longest of that group. It is the Giant River Otter. Now, Giant River Otters are the longest of the Weasel family. When I say the longest, I mean they can grow as long as I am tall, have canine teeth as long as my little finger, and can bite through and can take on things from piranhas to anacondas, snakes, and even caiman. I mean, they're known to local people as river wolves. I mean from the size of their teeth, like their canines, they're not just about as long as the canine teeth of a wolf. They can weigh between 40 to 120 kilograms, so same size, same weight as a wolf, same size and weight as a wolf, but also because they hunt in packs like wolves. And when I said about them being in the weasel family, now the weasel family are known as a group of animals for punching above their weight and taking on animals many times their own size and being utterly fearless. And of course, giant river otters will even take on and kill caiman that can be about just over 4 meters in length, and they take it on by like cutting it open with their huge teeth, but also they feed on all kinds of things like giant catfish, piranhas, anacondas. There's arapaima, which are the largest predatory fish in the South American waters. They will take on everything, anything and everything. And they have ferocious bite force. I mean, they could probably take off a couple of my fingers with a couple of single bites. And they also have incredibly sensitive whiskers, which can detect the wake of a fish in murky water. So basically, you can run from these guys, but you can't hide. Unfortunately, giant river otters are among the rarest and some of the most threatened members of South America's wildlife. There are many reasons for that. I mean, the main one is habitat loss, where a lot of their habitat is being destroyed for agriculture, plantations and towns, but also pollution in the rivers where they live, overfishing for taking out a lot of their main food sources, which brings them into conflict with humans. And also, a few decades ago, giant river otters were hunted for their pelts, but that has since been banned. And fortunately, they are starting to make a recovery, but they are still very rare. Yeah, as you can see from this image here of one skull, they do have very ferocious teeth. In fact, the canines here are about as long as my little finger, and then they stouter cheek teeth here called carnassials, what they use to crunch through fish bones. They could bite right through the thick bones of a catfish like a chainsaw through chocolate, which is actually quite frightening if you think about it. And of course here you can see a whole pack of them are taking on a caiman, which is twice their size and weight and power, but working together they can bring down an animal that big. Of course here is their range. Now, the next animal I'm going to show you is another bird that is one of my favourites, but it's also the largest bird of prey. It is the Andean Condor. Now, condors are found in... Now, the Andean Condor is, as its name suggests, found in the Andes, in the Andes Mountains, and they are the largest birds of prey at very unusual for birds of prey in the males being bigger than the females. You can tell this one's a male because of the distinctive crest on his head. Of course, they have a wingspan of 3 meters, and they can weigh almost as much as a bag of potatoes, and they have a beak that is strong enough to tear through the tough hide of a carcass. And they have eyesight that's said to be 8 times more powerful than ours. And of course, these birds are mostly scavengers, so they don't usually do their own hunting, but that doesn't mean that they're weak. As I mentioned earlier, their beak is as tough, can tear through the tough hide of a carcass. In fact, it's actually as strong as a pair of bolt cutters. If it can get through hide and bone, it would probably make a right mess of my fingers and possibly my face. Of course, condors, like all members of the vulture family, mate for life, and they have like one chick every 2 years, and quite often they bring food back to their nests to give to their young. but when the juveniles are able to fly, they quite often accompany their parents out on feeding trips. You can probably see here, there's a condor, and this bird here is a king vulture. Now in South America, like in places like the Andes, birds that usually turn up first for the carcass are turkey vultures. Turkey vultures are very unusual for birds, have a very, very keen sense of smell, so they can smell the carcass. And usually it's turkey vultures and black vultures that turn up to the carcass first, but they don't have the strength in their beak to tear open the tough hide. So they have to wait for the arrival of the bigger birds, king vultures and Andean condors. And of course, unfortunately, condor numbers have dropped dramatically in the Andes. There are probably less than 5,000 of them left in the wild, and a few of the main reasons for that are shooting, because farmers have occasionally seen them feeding on the carcasses of dead cows or sheep and assumed that they were the ones that killed them. There's also lead poisoning, like their carcasses of animals being poisoned with lead as a way to get rid of large predators, which is absolutely ridiculous. But also just the fact that condors have been persecuted in much of their range because of humans, mainly down to being blamed for livestock predation and also mistaking a carcass that is not meant for them, that has been poisoned. And unfortunately, although they have made a slight recovery over the last 30 years, they're still very, very difficult to see. But there are people working to protect condors, with building breeding populations in captivity, working with local people to stop the killing of condors, and many other things that we could do to protect these birds. Because without them, then carcasses are just going to build up everywhere and spread diseases, which will not just affect the animals, but also affect us. Here is their range. As you can see, they live all across the mountain range of the Andes, which is the longest mountain range on the planet. Now, the next animal I'm going to show you is another snake, and it's one of my favourite snakes. It is the Yellow-Tailed Cribo. Now, the Yellow-Tailed Cribo is quite a big snake. It can grow to be about 5 or 6 metres in length. It has a beautiful golden yellow tail, and its scales are incredibly smooth. It's almost like it's made of silk. And of course, for me, what makes the Yellow-Tailed Cribo so phenomenal of a snake is that it feeds on all kinds of things. It will feed on lizards, frogs, small mammals, birds, hard-shelled tortoises, but also on other snakes, even some of the most venomous snakes found in Latin America, like coral snakes, the fer-de-lance, the bushmaster, rattlesnakes. All of them can fall prey to the Yellow-Tailed Cribo, and it doesn't kill them using venom or constriction, but it kills them with what is said to be the most powerful bite of any snake. And a lot of how it kills its prey is just by grabbing a hold of it and then thrashing it around, whacking it against rocks or tree trunks until it knocks it senseless or kills it, and then it swallows prey whole, and quite often it's alive. The Cribo is of no danger to human beings at all, but if you ever do see a Yellow-Tailed Cribo in the wild, you are I would advise that unless you've been handling snakes for a long time, you don't try and handle one.